Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Empire State of Baseball. This is Monday, August 29th, 2022, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard.
Yes, sir. We are back.
We are back, and we lost Joe. Look at Joe. Gone.
No. We did not lose Joe, Corey. Corey, we luckily, for the sake of those of you who missed last week's show and expected Joe to be in a Yankee jersey, we apologize for disappointing you. However, what remains the same here on Empire State of Baseball.
Yeah.
Somebody had to keep their word because on our latest Bird Watch, and we updated it right now, Bird Watch, we're up to 67 and 60.
7 games over 500. Let's go.
Yeah. Look at that.
Because when we peel back this curtain, we now have Joe in a New York Yankees jersey, baby.
Yeah.
Great job, bitch.
There he is.
Look at that. The
Look at
Yankee
him,
navy.
Scrunched
Right this up there.
WFAN curmudgeon Yankee fan call you've ever seen in your life.
Absolutely.
Looks like a natural in the bleachers out there. A bleacher creature.
Thanks. A creature, absolutely.
Joe, how you feeling? Who you wearing tonight, man?
I am wearing, as donated by Rich, a Mark Teixeira jersey.
Oh, what the
from
World
the
Series
2009
inaugural
World
stadium
Series
patch
jerseys.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It is a bit like putting lipstick on a pig. I don't know how much it's doing for you, but boy, it looks good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, man.
Love it. And of course, great fit jersey of the World Series Yankees in 2009. A tough World Series for Mets fans to watch. Phillies and Yankees. Corey, I got to ask you, who are you rooting for in that World Series?
I was unfortunately rooting for the Yankees. I feel like I didn't have a choice because the Phillies, and especially in that era, because that was back when you had the Jimmy Rollins, rivalry there, saying no, the Mets aren't the team to beat, and sure enough, they weren't because the Phillies won. So we all know what happened there. But in that era of Mets baseball, the Phillies were definitely my most hated rival, taking the throne from the Braves. Now the Braves have clearly retaken that throne for this season now. But I did root for the Yankees in that World Series.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah. That's one where you have to. And I've seen it so many times, too, not even just with baseball, but football, too, being a Jeff fan, Giants, Patriots, and you have to root for the Giants, even though I don't like either team, because the Patriots are my least favorite team in all of sports. Yeah. But for the purpose of this show, Joe's got one of his crosstown rivals uniforms on. I love it, man. God. I absolutely love it.
It looks beautiful. It absolutely looks beautiful. I had to also just appreciate the city of Baltimore with a very nice Ravens jersey here. If I had a Cal Ripken jersey, I would have worn a Billy Ripken jersey. Frankly, I would have worn any Oriole jersey if I had one. I don't. So just repping Mark Andrews here, number 1 tight end in the NFL. Just to celebrate this. No, number 1. Just to celebrate the great city of Baltimore and all they've done for us and for this podcast, because frankly, they've brought half the entertainment value over this whole season.
Yeah, what's the Fernando Rodney look, Joe? Can you straighten yourself out? Have some class here. He shaved his face though, Tom. I will give him that.
Yeah, listen, I mean, he's gonna wear the uniform.
I said I wear the hat. I didn't say I wear the hat respectfully.
All right. Well, it's good to see Joe in the Yankee pinstripes, and this is going to be a great rest of the show. Another great 56 minutes of seeing that on you, but. If you've joined us already here on Twitch, we thank you so much. And for those of you who haven't, that are going to miss out on a great 56 minutes of show left here on this Monday evening, well, tell your friends to join us here on Twitch and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. Our link is in our Twitter bio. Of course, if you're following us at ESP Podcast, make sure to give your friends that Twitch bio, Twitch link. And that again is in our Twitter bio. Joe, let's talk some Mets while you rock those Yankee pinstripes. Why not? So we'll lay off the Yankees for a little bit here, get into some Queen's Gambit. And the Mets, I mean, you guys obviously can speak on it yourselves here, had the Old Timers Day game on Saturday This was not their first Old Timers Day game, correct? They've done Old Timers Day games in the past, right?
94, I believe it was the first since 94.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. They used to do it. Yeah, they used to do the Old Timers Day. This is the fourth one I remember. Obviously, I don't really remember the 94 Old Timers Day, but it was such a fun game. I loved watching it, seeing a lot of the guys that I grew up watching, Mike Piazza out there. And then you're seeing guys like Reyes, Daniel Murphy, Bartolo Colon. I'm like, wow, these are old timers. These guys were literally just on the team about 3-4 years ago, especially Reyes. I mean, it's crazy. We're a great mix of players. I forget the guy's name, unfortunately, but there was a guy from the 63 team, the second year of Mets baseball that went on the mound. I think he was 78 years old pitching. Right. It was such a fun day watching old timers. I had a blast, and I don't think it's something they should do every season, but it's definitely something every 5 years. I would be all for it. I had such a blast watching it this weekend.
Yeah, it really. You gotta give credit to the Mets. The Mets did a great job. Cohen really upped the ante. He got as many people back, as many familiar faces as he possibly could. I think the one little rain cloud that kind of was over it was the fact that David Wright wasn't there. David is one of the most, if not the most significant Met player, at least in our lifetime, to play for the Mets. And it kind of felt a little odd that he wasn't a part of the festivities. I understand why. I think, would this have been the last year of his contract? I'm not 100% sure if it was last year or this year that would have been the last year of his contract. I understand why he doesn't feel like he is an old timer yet. He feels like he's been robbed of it and should have stayed playing the game that he loved. So I can understand his trepidation about coming there. I think David's going to be kind of on the outside looking in for a little while, maybe at least until the Mets are ready to retire his number, which should be next year. But we'll see when they officially do that. But it was fun. And for years, I never understood the Yankee old-timer thing. I was like, oh, it's a novelty. A couple fans get juiced up for it. And I think there is a kind of diminishing return when you do it every single year. But I do love the nostalgia of it. I think every other year or every few years would be a great thing to have. And this was just a great environment for the Met fans. Also, I hope they face the Rockies and beat the crap out of the Rockies.
True. Yep.
And listen, it's really nice. I remember watching old timer Yankee games growing up with my dad, and then because they get to then like your parents' generation or your grandparents' generation get to relive the moments because as Yankee fans and Met fans, like you guys know the big names, the guys from the 70s and 80s, but a lot of times the old timers games bring out guys you've heard their name, and a parent or a grandparent will tell you a story about a time he hit a big double to clinch the division, and that stuff's always really cool. It brings, I think, a lot of the family aspect of baseball that we all love. That that is that American pastime part of it that other sports don't really have as much. I don't think it's just they don't have that kind of that connection like that as much. So I always love doing it. Ironically, this is the Yankees had the Old Timers Day this year, but they didn't play the game. They kind of just announced the players. I didn't really know. I don't know if it's still COVID stuff, why they didn't play or what was going on, but hopefully they do bring it back because after the past couple of years of not being able to even have the guys there, it has been to be close to 4 or 5 years since the Yankees have played in old timers.
They were also pretty light on the bodies that were there for that Yankees old timers.
It could, it also could be just who was available to come.
I just don't know if they had enough guys to support two teams of ball, but it was nice to see. Quick 3-inning game. It seemed like that. I watched a little bit of the Mets all timers. It kind of just ended. Like I think the guys were just like, all right, we got our bats, we're over it, kind of deal, which is cool. And I wish more teams, at least the teams with a legacy, can do this tradition. I mean, Corey mentioned before some of the younger guys that were in it. It's like weird seeing Daniel Murphy, Jose Reyes, but how about like Bartolo Colon still pumping gas back there? Andy Chavez looked like he could still be a backup outfielder for most teams in Major League Baseball. So it was cool.
I'll tell you what, Endy Chavez, one of my favorite Mets. I mean, definitely my favorite Met utility player of all time, outside of maybe Wilmer Flores. But it was such a great experience. Cliff Floyd smoked a line drive single to right field too. One of my favorite, outfielders growing up with the Mets. It was
Piazza hit one out in batting practice.
Yeah,
that you want to talk about your nostalgia right there. Seeing Piazza crank one out and like a legitimate over the wall in batting practice, that is just he's still got that little bit of swing in him that made you fall in love with him and with the team and stuff. That's the great stuff. But yeah, it was a little weird seeing. I mean, Bartolo was sitting there throwing 80-something miles an hour to guys who could barely walk. So
yep.
I did hear a great suggestion.
What's that?
I think the Mets and Yankees should do a Subway Series Old Timer Day.
That's interesting.
And every year switch it, or every other year switch it. Do 1 year at Yankee Stadium, 1 year at Citi Field. That way you can kind of do that little thing. I think that would be unbelievable to have all-time great Mets versus all-time great Yankees on the field together before Subway
and there would be almost a bit of competitiveness between the two.
I think so.
You could have Cone switch jerseys mid-game.
That would be
he goes into like the phone booth and he just he takes off the Met jersey as the Yankee jersey on, and vice versa. That could be even something really cool if they did, because usually the Subway Series games, they just do those 2-game sets. There's an off day. If you alternated that and then you did it the off day, maybe for charity or something, you have them come out, because you probably get, you can get a decent amount of people. You charge, $20 to get in, you sit wherever you want. I think you can get a good amount of people out. It would be a good thing to kind of for the community, and then talk about it and all that sort of stuff.
There's a lot of Met Yankee players that are going to be, could switch it between Doc, Darryl, Cone, Joe Torre even was a former Met.
Al Leiter.
I mean,
Robin Ventura,
Carlos Beltran,
Robinson Cano.
Robinson Cano.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what.
They drug test him on the way in, and he just guys.
Yep.
I can't play. I'm sorry.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Speaking of Robinson Cano, is going to be the last Met ever to wear the number 24. Because also this weekend with
the transition out of you.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep.
Job,
Yep. But I'll tell you what. Willie Mays, a very, very surprised number retiring this weekend with All-Timers Day. I did not see that coming at all. All of a sudden, when I see them all gathered together and I see the circle that's underneath the cloth, I'm like, they're about to retire a number right now. And then sure enough, they're talking about Willie Mays. When I first saw that number, I was like, oh, maybe they're retiring an old coach or something like that. No, it was actually Willie Mays, which probably was a surprise, not only to Met fans, but across baseball. It must have been a very shocking moment, because people don't think of Willie Mays with the New York Metropolitans. They think of him with the Giants. So very interesting retiree. And Joe, what are your thoughts seeing Willie Mays get his number 24 retired for the Mets on Saturday?
Listen, it was very nice. Obviously, they were doing it based off the promise the first Mets owner made to Willie, that if he came back, that she would retire his number for New York and everything like that. Listen, if we are being consistent, and I have always ripped on the Yankees for this, that the Yankees retire too many numbers, that players who do not have a long legacy or a legacy to the standard at which a number retirement should be, especially for the Yankees. If we are going by that standard, I disagree with the fact that Willie Mays' number got retired for the Mets, because he only played 2 seasons for the Mets. He was an old man. He was hanging on. Everybody knew it. He shouldn't have even been playing at that point. Yes, he is, as far as New York goes, he did win a Rookie of the Year and an MVP for a National League New York team that the Mets certainly draw their roots from. But from a Met perspective, the only reason this works is because it is Willie Mays. And if it wasn't him, if it wasn't arguably the top 4 or 5 best players of all time, that you could not do this for anybody else with that legacy. So for me, as a player for the team and what he meant to the franchise, no, he should not get his jersey retired. But the fact that it's Willie Mays makes it very hard for people to attack the Mets for doing so.
Yeah. No, I think definitely surprised me. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
I think the only way you can quote unquote get away with it is the original promise made by the owner. Mm-hmm. It's weird that it took 50 years, 60 years to do it. I don't understand. I know the Wilpons had a whole thing about not retiring numbers, but there's a lot of time before that. So very odd that it took until now, and it also kind of like it. I don't know. Then listen, you're going to say this is a Yankee fan's take on this. I think some of this stuff would annoy me as a Met fan. The outside is the Ebbets Field look, and then retiring Willie Mays' number. Like the Mets have enough history as a franchise that I feel like they don't need to cling on to other franchises that still exist, just in different cities. But I get it. It was a promise made. Does anyone know why it took 60 years or whatever?
Jeff,
I think there's a couple reasons. Baseball up until Steinbrenner really went crazy with it. Retiring numbers throughout baseball was not that popular. I mean, remember the first half of the 19th century, you wore the number of the place you hit in the lineup. I mean, Ruth wore his number because that's where he hit in the lineup. Same with Gehrig. So, these weren't popular to do until the 70s and 80s, and Steinbrenner was really the one who took it to the next level, and that's when everybody started doing it after that. But right. I don't think everybody thought it was reasonable. I think everybody thought it was a ploy to get Mays to come here to help sell tickets, which worked, but it was just kind of, I don't think any Met owner kind of took it as a serious promise.
John here, Mets can't win. Years they didn't acknowledge their history and got crushed. Now they did it and are getting crushed. Let's be real, the Mets history isn't as historic. They did right by Mays and the original owner. No issue with it at all. Thanks for that, John. And listen, I'm okay with it. If there's a promise made here by the original owner, that's Joan Payson, and she unfortunately passed away before she could deliver on that promise, I'm okay. We're not talking about 20 odd numbers retired by the New York Mets franchise. This is the 8th number retired by the franchise. So you still have a lot of numbers to select from and have history around. So I don't think this is really a big deal. And to see Willie Mays, get honored in such a way where, he emanated from the New York team, the New York Giants. They did their own honor for him with a separate franchise, but promise was made, and Willie Mays is number 24 is retired. Was there another number 24 Mets history that has any sort of close relevance where maybe you could make the argument it could have been, honored, retired for another player? Probably not.
No, I think Ricky Henderson wore it, but he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Long enough.
Not long enough. But yeah, I'm with it. I think it was a classy move. I was more just caught off that they just announced it. There's no pomp and circumstance around it, no hype up for it, no big promotional day for it. Obviously, they had a big promotional day as is, but they just ripped off the announcement on this past Saturday. So a really cool gesture by Stevie Cohen and the Mets organization this past weekend, and an A+ job on the Old Timers Day game. Yeah, the only tradition that I wish more teams would just take part in.
The only thing I worry about is I just worry about it getting ridiculous because we have more retirements on the horizon, and I want to make sure that we keep them for the top of the franchise players. I know we retired Keith. Keith was kind of a borderline just as a player, but that's more of a lifetime achievement award being in the booth as well. But you had David Wright, which is unarguable coming down the line. One day you're probably going to retire Jacob deGrom's, and that's not a stretch right now. You're going to have some. I don't know if they're going to do Strawberries as number 18. I kind of hope not. I don't like the way
Did they retire Mookie Wilson's number?
They did not. No.
No.
And I'll tell you what, Luis Castillo wore number 1, so I don't know if you want to. The number 1's been
Joe,
changed.
I have a question from the chat. Speaking of which, what are your thoughts when you met Daryl from softball, aka Mookie Wilson, at the Met game?
that is Chooch Matt's fault. I wasn't. I was talking to the person who got. I was talking to the ticket rep who got us the group tickets. I wasn't paying attention. Mookie walked past me, shook my hand on the way up the stairs. I had no idea who it was. And because my attention was split. So,
I mean, Darryl Strawberry is like one of the most recognizable people. Like, Darryl Strawberry has a look to him that like is unmistakable. I don't know how you could confuse anyone as Darryl Strawberry.
No, you're confusing the facts here, Tom. It was
Daryl, the umpire from our softball.
No, but like but the point is, like, if you thought he was Darryl Strawberry, like, you would know Darryl Strawberry if you saw him.
No, not Daryl Strawberry, Tom. He thought it was Daryl, a random umpire from our softball.
Oh,
Daryl Strawberry. He didn't even think it was Met fan.
All right, so I don't know what Daryl looks like, so I don't know.
Softball league.
Okay, I was gonna say if you confuse Mookie Wilson for Darryl Strawberry, that would be rough because Darryl Strawberry is has a specific look to him.
Joe,
like I said, my attention was split. I didn't realize it, and that's how I met Mookie Wilson without knowing it.
Great story here, Joe. Great story. All righty, well, we're gonna move forward to Chooch's pick of the week, but before we get there, Tom, what's the best way to follow everybody on social media?
So our best way to follow us on Twitter and Instagram is at Empire, or on Instagram. I always mess this up. Instagram, Empire State of Baseball.
Correct.
On Twitter, ESB Podcast. We put a lot of polls up there. We've been doing the recaps, the weekly recaps. So a great place to check us out. Also individually, you can follow us at G Gory, Junior Pugs, Rich J Rivera, and T Wospil.
And if you go on ESP Podcast or Empire State of Baseball, whether you go on Twitter or Instagram, there's a beautiful picture of Joe in his Yankee jersey. So go view, go like, and go share. Thank you very much. All righty, let's turn it over to our boy, Mr. Chooch. Matt Took, you can give him a follow at mtook45 on all social media platforms. But for now, let's take a listen into Chooch's pick of the week.
ESP crew, Chooch is back with Chooch's pick of the week. This week, in fitting fashion, Oriole Joe, I'm going Orioles over the Guardians starting Tuesday.
Just continues
in Cleveland. I'm going the Orioles to take 2 out of 3 and try to keep moving up that wild card spot. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
I'm thinking 3-game sweep. I'm just going to step in first here. We're probably looking like if they might actually have to take the Little League 10-run rule and implement it for the Orioles against Cleveland, because they're just going to absolutely destroy them. Birds going to go to 10 games over 500, which is going to be just a magical moment for Birds fans everywhere.
Yeah,
listen, I feel like the more we pump in the hype for the Orioles, like the closer they're gonna gain ground of the Yankees, and then we're just all gonna look like fucking idiots here, Tom. But for the sheer fact that Joe's got the Yankee jersey on,
I'm gonna be in a really tough spot.
I'm definitely running with the 2 out of 3 games. I'm rolling with Chooch's pick here. 2 out of 3 games going the Orioles' way. Corey.
Yeah, I'm going the same way. I'm going 2 of 3. And listen, I'm all on the O's bandwagon. They're only a game and a half out of the wild card right now. I hope they make the playoffs. That would be some story. Go O's. I'm with the Chooch.
I am going the opposite because I've
I wonder why.
The O's bandwagon. And no, I will not bet on this. I'm
driving the bandwagon. I'm ready here. Like, there's always room aboard the Birds bandwagon. Absolutely love it.
The Guardians are fighting for a division title.
So are the Birds.
The O's are trying to scrape into the last wild card spot. I think the Guardians have the better pitching. The Guardians, while their offense has been struggling, they have looked the best out of those Central teams. Man, that Central division, it's who wants to back their way into the playoffs. But I'm going the Guardians 2 out of 3 in this one.
When was the last time the American League Central had any sort of credibility? I guess maybe when the Indians were going for a World Series, 2016, 2017, when they were one of the best teams in baseball. But since then,
when the Tigers had Verlander, Miggy, and Fielder all in the same.
Yeah, good days. Good times ahead.
Yeah, the Twins have been just a welcome mat for the Yankees in the playoffs for the better part of 3 decades now. So.
In all fairness, the Central's produced a decent amount of good playoff teams in the past, dozen years. I mean, the Indians went to the playoffs, went to the World Series once, and the ALCS a couple times. The Tigers threatened a couple times. I just think the Royals went twice, won once. So the problem with that division is they're just never good at the same time. It's always one that kind of rises above, wipes out the division for a few years, and then sinks back into mediocrity.
There's no staying power. They're maybe good for a season or two, and then they fall off the face of the earth. There's not been a team that's been. I guess the Twins for a while there were just always pretty good, through the 2000s with like the Mauer and Morneau, that era. But even still, they never did anything with it. So
I think it's just a lot of mid-market teams that happen to be in that division where there's no, in the NL Central by comparison, you have the Cubs and Cardinals. Those are big market teams for the most part, or at least they act like big market teams. I don't think the White Sox on occasion and the Tigers on occasion act like big market teams, but they're really mid-market teams. I think it kind of hurts their ability to stay consistent and stay longevity-wise. But the Guardians / Indians are the ones with the most staying power because they develop the most pitching. They're a pitching factory. They churn out pitcher after pitcher after pitcher, and that's how they've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, Chooch's pick of the week, brought to you by Chooch. Give him a follow at mtook45, going Orioles over Guardians for this week. All righty. We're gonna get into some Yankees talk. The Yankees have had a weird week. It started off very nice, a nice 2-game sweep of the Mets at the stadium. Then they got into Oakland, and then we could pick it up from there. Before we get there, though, Joe, who's rocking a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Yankee jersey. For those of you who have joined us tonight, we appreciate it. But there's going to be plenty of our friends who missed tonight's episode. And Joe, what's the best way for our fans to catch the replay of you wearing those pinstripes?
I don't know. I'm not going to upload this video, but full episodes of the rest of our library are going to be on YouTube. Go search Empire State of Baseball. It's up on our YouTube page. Anytime you click into a video, please like, share, and subscribe. Yes. And you can view all our past episodes, all our best moments, fun arguments, and me taking Tom to the cleaners anytime you like.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely.
Jersey to the cleaners, you smell it.
I was about to say, the only thing taking the cleaners right now is that Yankee jersey. But
I was going to say, can you imagine if this is someone's first time like going on the show and they just see Rich here, just I don't know what kind of fan Rich is, just has the great t-shirt, Corey with the Mets jersey, then got Joe in the Yankee, then me in a Ravens jersey. Anyone is their first time. You're in a world of confusion right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, I got the pinstripes going on R42.
That's true. You got the pinstripes back there.
Got Mariano over here, so we're solid over here. But Joe looks like the biggest Yankee fan right now. So let's get into Yankees talk. With the Bronx is burning, and you can put Stevie away. We're talking Yankees right now. Obviously, weird week, as I preluded before. Tom started off nice. They went to Oakland. Beat up on the A's for the first game of the set, rocked an Aaron Judge 3-run shot, and that rode them for the rest of their Friday game to a W. And then they got into the Saturday, Sunday, where I believe the team combined for 3 hits.
It just didn't show up.
Did not show up. Pitching was pretty solid throughout. I'm not going to fault Clark Schmidt as much, his first start back and how long. But yeah, Yankees had a rough go about for that split in Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Weird week with you start with a 2-game set. The Mets had handled the Yankees the first 2 games of the season. You beat Scherzer. You go to Oakland, which going out west for the Yankees, and as they're going to Anaheim to start a series tomorrow. I don't think they're playing tonight.
No,
maybe they are. They are playing tonight. They're playing 9:30. Yeah. West. No, but the game's late. Whatever.
Joe's a bigger fan than you.
I mean, he absolutely. Look at him. West Coast has always been tough for the Yankees. So then they go out and they win 2 in Oakland. I know Oakland's a bad team, but they always do so poorly out west. They win 2, and then they just, I don't know. They stop trying, or they just don't put in. I don't know, because it's not like Oakland is terrible to not. If you had games where you put up a bunch of runs and it got weird, and Oakland Coliseum with the 10,000 extra feet of foul ground or whatever, I can see it getting weird. They fell asleep. You thought they had woken up, but maybe they just kind of sleptwalked to the bathroom. They took a piss and then they went back to bed. This is what it kind of feels like at this point.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show plenty when addressed to the Yankees schedule. Any team can beat any team, and that's been proven multiple times this year. The Oakland A's worst record in baseball, worst record in the American League right now at 48-81. It doesn't even hurt that they lost the 2 games, especially the 4th game. I wasn't expecting the Yankees to go in and sweep the Oakland A's 4 games. That's what you want, but you're happy to take 3 out of 4 at the least.
Yeah, you gotta take 3 out of 4.
That Saturday game was rough, and not just because they lost. It's because everybody else lost that day. The Astros lost, the Jays lost, the Rays lost. It would have been a perfect day to build that lead in the East and try to catch the Astros, which I think is still a lost cause. I think the Astros are running away with that American League first place overall.
I mean, it's not that they're not that. Was it 4 games are behind them for it?
I think it's still. I still don't think that should be the mission for them. I think you keep the lead, you just run into the playoffs. What you got? I don't think they're going to catch the Astros.
No, I mean they're probably not going to. I mean, to say that it's a lost cause, it looks like it's for 3 games in the lost column, so it's possible. I mean, listen, Houston, they're not perfect. They can go through a stretch where they go
got beat up by the baby birds.
Just saying, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. Just we're still in this weird part where I feel like they're sleepwalking, and we'll see. I think they believe they can turn it on and wake up in the middle of September, and they can get hot and roll into the playoffs. And I don't know.
I saw a line before, and I want to get Joe and Corey's opinion on it. I believe the Yankees, if they go 22-12 for the remainder of the season, they'll eclipse the 100-win mark. Okay. At this rate of the season, guys, do you see the Yankees getting to that mark, or are we focused on the wrong thing here?
It would, for me, it would be shocking if they didn't, and because just a few weeks back, we were still talking about them, being 110, 115 win team, and now we're talking about are they going to make 100? So from that standpoint, it would be hard for me not to see it, but the team right now is a little bit off, and in terms of the Astros, at this point, I don't care about catching up to the Astros if I was a Yankee fan. Right now, you just want to make sure you keep that second seed, because the second seed is a huge difference between 1 and 2 versus 2 to 3. I'd much rather be second as opposed to first than third as opposed to second, because the difference there is you're still going to get a bye if you're a second seed. But if you're a third seed, even if you win your division, you are not getting that first round bye. You're going to have to play in that new wild card round, best of 3. So for the Yankees right now, just focus on winning your division. If they win the division, they're going to get the second seed. So just worry about that. Don't worry about the Astros. Gun to my head, I say they're exactly a 100-win team. I think they do exactly 100 wins, no more than that.
See, I disagree there. I don't see them. What did you say, Rich? They had to go
22-12.
22-12. They haven't played like that team basically since June. And not for nothing. If you look at the schedule, it's not easy. They got the Angels for 3, which on paper looks like a winnable game. The Angels just swept Toronto and looked like they've woken up a little bit. You got 3 at Tampa, 4 against Minnesota, then 3 back at Tampa. Then you got Boston coming in, Milwaukee. You got 2 versus Pittsburgh. And then the last 4 series of the year, you got 4 with Boston, 3 at Toronto, 3 with Baltimore, and then 4 at Texas. That's nothing. But that's not an easy schedule. If you went 500 on that schedule, you'd probably be.
That's not a particularly hard schedule.
You got 9 games against Tampa and Toronto who are chasing you down. And then we know Boston's not going to roll over and die for the Yankees, so you got to face them 6 games. And Minnesota's a contender as well. So, you know what? I don't see 22-12 when I look at this schedule. I think if you went somewhere like the 18-16 mark, you'd probably take it. That puts you about, 96 wins off the top of my head. I think that's probably a success at this point. I still don't think Tampa's going to challenge you unless, of course, Tampa sweeps the 6 games that they play with you or 5 of the 6. Then I'd start to sweat. They are playing well now. I still don't think they have enough to catch and eclipse the Yankees. But the Yankees have to wake up, and this mentality of, we're going to coast, we're going to get to the playoffs, we'll figure it out then, we'll turn it on at the right time. Well, don't look now. 7.5 games can evaporate real quick, especially when you have 6 games against that team coming up. So, the Yankees got to be careful here. I think they end up at that 96, 97 win mark when it's all said and done. But 100 is not guaranteed anymore.
And we'll see what happens there. Our poll question, our preview poll that we always do on Instagram every Monday. And we thank you all for your participation. As always, got a lot of votes on this one. Who should close for the New York Yankees in the postseason was the question. We had some name choices: Chapman, Holmes, Marinaccio, and then we also had an other. So if you had a write-in, you can DM us there. There was only one write-in vote. We'll get to that in a little bit. Majority went to Clay Holmes, 46% of the vote. Then Ron Marinaccio at 31%, and then followed by Chapman. Chapman had a couple votes there, 15% of the vote. Very spread out, and I don't know. That's not a good thing to really see, because at this rate in the season, when you're talking the Yankees are going to be a contender to get to the second round of the let's get to the semifinals, get to the ALCS, you'd have to think going into September, boys, they have that closer position locked down with somebody, and they just don't. Clay Holmes gets activated today. You hope for the best there. You just don't know. Aroldis Chapman goes down the IL with a leg infection. Fucking idiot.
Unbelievable.
Moron.
Unbelievable.
Can't wait for him to just be gone.
You got 6 weeks, so
it's bad. And you have a stable full of good relievers that none of them can close. Marinaccio, Peralta, Litke, all having solid years. And
the 31% of people that voted that Ron Marinaccio, or whatever the heck his name is.
Marinaccio. Get it right. You were the Yankee hat. Say it right.
31% of you out there that think Marinaccio should be your closer need your head examined.
Oh, boy.
This guy's pitched 20-something games in the major leagues. He doesn't have a major league save, and you're going to trust him to close in October? Listen, I'm paying Chapman $16 million a year. I'm going to go die on my sword at that point. That's just my opinion, assuming you can get him healthy and he doesn't have to get his leg amputated. But that's not the point. That you can't trust. You go to Holmes. You can't trust Marinaccio to be your closer. And if you think he might have a good year, he's pitching well. If you think he should be your closer, you need your head examined, because you might as well throw up the white flag in October. You cannot, under any circumstances, go with a 27-year-old rookie that's pitched 20-something games in the major leagues.
Joe, if you're gonna do it, and I didn't vote for Marinaccio, if you're gonna do it, you got to start him now. You got to get him in that position now and try to get him ready for that. But even that's just a stretch. At this point in the season, you just hope Holmes can find something, and it's just not an extended case of the yips there. But that's not who I voted for either. The guy I voted for was actually my write-in. So I went with somebody who's been battle tested in the playoffs, somebody who's hurt right now, and it's not Zach Britton. I actually have Luis Severino as a guy that I could see potentially pick up a late inning closer role in the postseason. And hear me out. And I know there's going to be fans that are going to say, no, we need Severino for that rotation. I don't think the Yankees rotation is going to lose in these games. The bullpen can lose these games just like that. And having a guy who's been in big spots in big playoff games, and yeah, Sevy's had a couple of clunkers himself, But I've also remembered him having some Houdini situations that I think he gets hard just getting into so he can just get out of it himself. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he works his way out of it. And I think having him come out in an 8th or 9th inning situation, I think that would be awesome. I think, listen, at this point, you don't have anybody locked down for that spot. And
it's interesting.
You have to think of somebody who's on the mend right now, but that's somebody I could see. Hey, they might not throw him back into the rotation, throw him right to the Wolves already. Domingo Germán has pitched well. You might see a semblance of Germán and Taillon splitting his start as the 4 spot. Severino might have to start off in the bullpen, and if he looks good enough, the Yankees could keep him there. I don't know what you guys think.
His stuff is the one that translates the most to the bullpen. Big arm, big slider. You can basically just throw those 2 pitches, and that can carry you as a closer. I would wonder if I'll be honest, I like the idea of it. I wonder in a situation like, can he be your closer in the playoffs where he might have to pitch back-to-back games? He might pitch 3 out of 4 days. I mean, if they needed to, you pitch a closer 3 days in a row if it comes down to it. None of the we don't pitch guys 3 days in a row rules matter. You wonder if that's something he would be able to do. I think it could be interesting. I wonder if they can almost use him more in that, more like that fireman type role that hey, whenever we're going against the meat of the lineup, whether that's in the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, that's when we use him. And then maybe we piecemeal with everything else. In the poll, I did vote for Clay Holmes. I know he was very bad at the end there. How much of that was injury or fatigue or some kind of combination? Who knows? The Yankees have been known to do these phantom IL, stints where they just kind of someone's hurt, like Nestor's hurt right now. I don't believe. I think they're just kind of getting him some rest to control his innings. So that'd be my fear. But listen, I think he has the chance to be electric, and I think he has the chance to have a huge moment in the playoffs, no matter where that fits in.
He's the most battle-tested, in terms of playoffs, he's the most battle-tested person on this team.
Who's this?
Obviously, he's hurt right now, so that's the only thing that I get worried about.
When it
comes in terms of playoffs?
Cole was more battle-tested than
Severino. Severino was battle-tested in playoffs. He's lost battles in the playoffs.
He is the most beat up.
He's got a 5.23 career postseason ERA. You can't trust Severino in the playoffs.
Got beat up mercifully by the Red Sox last while.
Cole was hurt. I'll worry about Cole when Cole gets. And don't get me wrong, Cole's not Scherzer or anybody in the playoffs either.
Max Scherzer's playoff numbers are not great.
But if you're telling me I got 5 pitchers I'd rather trust than Severino in the Yankees rotation,
but none of them
trust him to get in and out in the playoffs. Huh?
None of them have seen the playoffs.
I'll pitch. I'll take my chances with Nestor.
The only other pitcher who's seen the playoffs in big situations. Severino's
come up short
as a starter and a reliever for this team over the last 5 seasons, Joe.
Do you remember the time he pitched the 3rd of an inning and gave up 3 runs against Minnesota?
When you look at postseason ERAs, they can be very slanted in a case like Severino, because Severino get out. No, listen, I agree with you that the most battle tested Yankee pitcher is Cole, and that's not close. But when you have a game when you pitch a 3rd of an inning and get absolutely shelled. And how many postseason innings does Severino have
against Boston in 2018 in the ALDS? How about 2 runs and 4 1/3 against Houston in the ALCS in 2019? He's got a track record of this. This isn't one outlying game. He's been shelled multiple times, and he's made it out of the 4th inning once. So I'm sorry, I don't trust him.
For one inning, Joe, I think I'd give him the ball for 1 inning. For 1 inning, for 3 outs you need, I think I could trust him.
He pitched a 1 1/3 inning last year against the Boston in the wild card that gave up a run. I don't know if you could trust him.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, Severino, not the guy I would have expected, but actually with the Mets side of it, I'll get to my Yankee closer pick in a second. But on the Mets side of it too, I know bullpen for both teams right now is not really that good. At least with the Mets, it's not the closer spot that's an issue. But the Mets are kind of hoping for the same thing, similar to what Rich you said with Severino. The Mets with Tyler McGill, I'm hoping that he's able to come in there and be a high leverage reliever because they have such an issue, the Mets, getting to the ninth inning. Once you get there, you're fine. You want a legitimate closer. Tyler McGill's a guy who maybe like your Severino pick could translate to the bullpen. I know both, got good stuff, good velocity on their fastballs and whatnot. But I'm actually going to go. I'm going to the past here, and I know he's having a bad year, and he had a stupid injury. I'm actually going to say Aroldis Chapman. And really, the only reason why I'm doing it is because he's done it before, and he's pitched in the postseason. And granted, even though the memory that stands out for a lot of fans is the smile on his face giving up the home run in that Astros series, but he does have a 2.4 career ERA in the postseason. It was a huge part of that Cubs team that did win the World Series back in 2016.
And he almost blew it for them too.
And he almost blew it for them too.
Rosny Davis, everybody.
Correct, but he's the guy who's actually been there before.
I fucking hate Chapman so much. I don't even want to see him on this team anymore. I hope he threw his last pitch as a Yankee. I fucking hate him.
I'll tell you what, I think I voted for Chapman because of the experience. I think the way they might end up going about it is by committee, and it depends on the situation. Who do you have coming up? You could see Peralta closing out games. He's been closing them out lately. And listen, you don't want that. Don't get me wrong. But I could definitely
part of me that does
by committee type situation. You have three left.
I have another guy. And I'm sticking with Severino because I think it'd be great. But another guy who I'd love to see, and he looks like he's starting to try to find something, and I think Tom can agree here, Jonathan Loaisiga. And Loaisiga's been somebody who has struggled for the majority of the season. He was hampered by an injury. But last year around this time was regarded as one of the best non-closers in the game. And I don't want to hear it, Jeff. One of the best non-closers in baseball. And if he can find that form, and again, he's starting to get back on that trajectory, that's a big time, high leverage reliever that the Yankees are getting.
If you tell me I get 2021 Loaisiga, then yeah, and he has looked better as of late, but I don't know. I think I vote again. I voted for Holmes, but I think I agree more with Corey here. It's gonna be a bit of by committee, by matchup. This is where maybe the analytics stuff is more helpful. Maybe it is, hey, what are these guys struggle? Is it velocity? Is it breaking pitches? Is it righty? Is it lefty? Because the Yankees have quite a utility belt of guys in the bullpen who do different things and have different stuff. So I wonder if that's more what they do, and that might be the best way of doing it. I know, you want a closer because that's been how baseball's been for the last 25 years. You hand your ball to your closer, and he's the one who gets the last out of every postseason game. But this team, I don't think, has that guy that you can, unless Holmes comes back and he just becomes first half Holmes again. I don't think they have that guy. It has to be by committee.
Correct.
I mean, listen, relievers have always been fickle. I mean, we look at what's going on with Josh Hader in San Diego and how bad
25 ERA up there.
Think about it.
Look what Mets fans said about Edwin Diaz 2 years ago.
When we came,
you guys would have driven him to LaGuardia yourselves if you could have.
Yep.
Right. It goes to show you, we came into this year, the Yankees universally were thought to have the best bullpen in baseball, along with maybe the Brewers. And now we're looking at it in the second half here, and we don't know who's getting outs in the last inning of the game. So, my thing with the Yankees and the closer situation, I would go with Chapman. I feel like you got to live and die by your sword. At this point, you're paying him $16 million, and he is the only person who has gotten outs in the ninth inning in a big game in that bullpen right now.
Yep.
I know he's there right now.
You just want to see Chapman come in a one-run game in Houston, in Cleveland, at the Trop, and you want to see him give the walk-off. I see you. You're wearing the pinstripes. You have the hat on. But I could see right through you. You're trying to put this into existence. You're trying to talk it.
I'll put it this way.
Make it happen.
I'll put it this way. You're in Houston. You got a one-run lead in the bottom of the ninth, and the top of the order for Houston's coming up. Who you want pitching to Altuve, Alvarez, and
Cole has a perfect game going, so I'm letting him stay in.
Yeah.
Severino.
You want Severino pitching to that?
100%.
No, oh my god.
I think if he looks good, the answer is Holmes. I think that's still the answer. Especially if you just think about like what is the scary thing that happened in ninth innings is home runs, and Holmes, if he has that sinker going, is not going to give up home runs. You're going to have to get 2-3 hits to get a run off of him. I'm taking Holmes. Unless he comes back and looks like he did before.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. And also the other thing to call out right now, too, in terms of bullpen usage is that sometimes the ninth inning doesn't matter. And you see them going to the high leverage guy in the eighth inning. The Mets have been doing it a ton this year with Edwin Diaz. And I've actually become a fan of it because you're getting the 3, 4, 5 hitters up there in a one-run game. I want Edwin Diaz in there. And maybe he only get, you never know what could happen. You might get the out within 10 pitches, and then you do have a shot to get 2 innings out of that guy.
And it's 22 baseball thinking, Corey, because Diaz gets shut down the side, and you're going to get another set of at-bats, and you could pad that lead.
Correct.
But, you only get that bridge because Diaz shut down
True.
the top hitters in that lineup just the inning before.
True. And that's the problem with the Yankees right now. You don't have that guy. Gun to my head, I do think it'll be a by committee, by situation, depending who's coming up, who's going in where. If I had to choose one of the guys, I'm going to go with Chapman because of the experience. But listen, the people spoke. Majority did go Holmes, and it was a tough matchup. Rich with the very interesting Severino pick. Me and Joe both going Chapman there as well. But listen, if you did like that poll, go ahead, follow us on Instagram because we have polls like that all the time. Every week before the show, we're posting a poll. Go ahead, follow us at Empire State of Baseball on Instagram. You could also go on Twitter at ESB Podcast. And last but not least, subscribe to Twitch and YouTube if you definitely want to rewatch some of these segments live.
Yes, sir. Very good stuff. I nearly had an aneurysm over all the Chapman. Michael Brousseau and Jose Altuve and just, guys that took him out. And I would love to join that list. But we're not getting there. So we are going to start off with, we're going to get the trick of the trade shortly. But before we get there, we have a scheduling announcement here on the show. As far as Empire State of Baseball is concerned, I'm still fucking winded from that last rant, guys. I'm still winded. So you know what? Corey, take this one.
All right, I got it. Well, listen, everybody, next week is Labor Day weekend. The Monday will be Labor Day. It's actually also going to be our first off day of the season. I know a lot of scheduling conflicts, and we want to make sure we're giving you the best possible broadcast. So rather than try to wing something together, we're going to go ahead, take the week off. We want all of our fans to enjoy the Labor Day weekend, the unofficial end to the summer, even though we know the summer technically has a few more weeks. So we will be taking off next week. And then starting the following week, September 12th, for episode 23, we will then shift to a start time of 7 p.m. As we all know, many of our fans here are diehard football fans, as and most of us in this podcast right now. So with Monday Night Football kickstarting, and those games are 8 o'clock start times, we're going to shift to 7 p.m. So that way everyone gets their fair share of baseball and football on their Monday evenings.
There you go. Very good. I'm back. So yeah, that's our set of announcements right there. First bye week. Hey, it's fucking Labor Day. Maybe we gotta take a week off once in a while. Hey, so Labor Day is next week, and of course 7 o'clock p.m. start times on the 12th. All right, let's wrap things up with trick of the trade. I guess I'll start us here with our Yankee deal. Let's get that up, and of course trick of the trade. Our segment where we guess the missing piece of the trade. So here we go. Yankees acquiring Xavier Nady, a former Met. But they acquired him and another player from the Pittsburgh Pirates in the middle of the 2008 season for a mega package. Jeff Carson, Daniel McCutchen, Ross Ollendorf, and Jose Tabata, who was the additional player that went to the Yankees, however. Tom?
Yeah, you didn't give me it beforehand, so I'm in the boat with Joe and Corey on this. I feel there's been so many Yankee Pirate trades over the years. Is this where Jerry Harrison Jr. comes from? I don't think so.
No, it's not this deal.
I didn't think so, but Oh man,
This is interesting. Xavier Nady.
Cervelli went there later.
Do you give us some bum?
No, this is not a bum per se.
Per se.
But he was part of the 2009 World Series Yankees, and he played a pretty good role for this team.
Is it a reliever?
It is a reliever.
Oh man.
Yes, it's certainly a role we sort of talked about. Obviously, he wasn't the closer. We know who the closer was of that 2019, but he was very helpful in that for that playoff run.
I feel like this is a one only Tom's gonna get.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's on. Is it Damaso Marte? Is that where he came from?
It is Damaso Marte.
Yes.
Good stuff. Yes. Damaso
Marte. I could see him, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Now, Damaso Marte was a crap sandwich for the Yankees in the regular season, but for the playoffs, he came through in some key spots. Really helped them bridge the gap to Mariano. Well, him and David Robertson, that is. But yeah, Damaso Marte was the guy from that deal, and we did have a correct guess in the chat that I did miss. Matt, good stuff. Damaso Marte.
Yeah, good guess.
Correct. And John asked, "What the fuck is Damaso Marte?"
When he said he played a role, he's one of those guys. That's why. Well, I know I said it before that, but like the Jerry Hairston Juniors of that just weird moments in that 2009 season. Damaso Marte, legend. Will probably be at Yankees Old Timers Day. And 28 maybe, he'll be there and he'll get a big ovation.
Or arrested.
But going back to it, he is the kind of guy that is perfect for down the road. If Damaso Marte is at an Old Timers Day and your kid's who's this guy? This guy, he had not a great career, but he was an important member of the 2009 World Series. And at that point, that'll be the last championship the Yankees have won because they're the Yankees now, and they're bad.
Yeah. John in the chat asks, is there a Mets one? There is, isn't there, Corey?
Oh, yes, there most certainly is. Go ahead, pull it up, Rich. All right, here we go. Trick of the trade. We're going a little further back, 2002, trading deadline back then for the Mets. And the Mets acquired Jason Millibrook and Steve Reed from the Padres in exchange for Bobby Jones, the starting pitcher, Josh Reynolds,
the golfer?
And the golfer. But also a question mark here. Who else did the Mets? This is the Mets trading away the question mark instead of receiving.
Is it Heath Bell?
It is not Heath Bell.
Oh, that was a great guess. I was like, damn, he didn't even give us a shot here.
That was a very good guess.
No, because I know it was well traveled that he went to the Padres. I think he went to the Padres after that.
He did. Very good guess because he had a very good Padres career, Heath Bell, but it is not Heath Bell.
Now, just for the checks and balances, we made sure to get the Padres logo of 2002 because they changed their logo a few times.
Fantastic effort. What a logo.
Years.
Underrated logo.
Yeah, people
the baseball.
I honestly like the one they did right after. The one the one that looked like home plate with the blue and white wavy lines. I like that.
A lot of logos for that team.
Yep, a lot of logos. I'll tell you what, we got another guest in the chat. Core Ryan, Ty Wingington. It is not Ty Wingington either. Ty Wingington was traded in 2004, I believe, as part of the Chris Benson trade.
I was going to say I thought Wingington went to the Pirates eventually.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's see.
I'll tell you what, we have one more guess, which is not correct, but John Hernandez is actually on the right track with Nelson Cruz. Right track in the sense that is a very notable name, but one that you...
Tayo Cruz.
So a notable name that just didn't fucking...
Victor Cruz.
Negative.
Now, I'll ask this.
Mandela.
It wasn't Nelson. Well, let me ask you this.
Full Nelson.
When the Mets traded this player, was he just in the farm with the Mets? Did he ever put on the uniform in the big league level?
I will give a little bit of backdrop. This is a player, position player, who was a minor leaguer at the time, did not play with the Mets at the time he was traded, ended up only playing he made his debut with the Padres. He did make his major league debut with the Padres, but was not there long. And at some point of his life, did come back to the Metropolitans.
Ooh.
see John Hernandez said Jose Bautista in the chat, but I feel like he got traded to the Pirates.
We did that trade on the show too. Bautista was a Pirate, went to the Pirates.
Not Bautista, but again, in that ballpark of position player who did have a notable career, and along the lines of Bautista, did actually play in the latter part of his career with the Mets.
Oh,
Jason Bay.
That is correct. I do.
Wow.
Tom mentioned it. We also have S Bullbuster 45 in the chat mentioning Bay as well. It is Jason Bay.
That was such a guess. I was just
thinking,
wow.
It is.
I was
Jason
just trying
Bay.
to just rip, put more salt in wounds for Mets fans and just say disappointing players.
No, it is.
No idea. Yeah, no idea. He was a Padre.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know that.
I would have assumed he went to the Pirates.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jason Bay was actually tossed around quite a bit. I mean, when he was drafted in 2000, it was by the Expos, was in several trades. I mean, even with the Mets, then going to the Padres. He played 3 games with the Padres and then got traded to the Pirates.
So my God, you guys see the names in the trade that he went to the Pirates for. So he's traded by the Padres to the Pirates for a player to be named later. And Oliver Perez went with him to the Pirates for Brian Giles.
Wow.
Oliver Perez, fantastic guess for any of these trades, because I feel like he got traded to everyone.
Yeah.
And they was in that 3-team crazy trade to the Red Sox that Adam LaRoche and Brian Morris went to the Pirates. The Red Sox sent Manny Ramirez to the Dodgers, and the Red Sox sent Brandon Moss and Craig Hansen to the Pittsburgh Pirates. So a lot of
no
degrees of separation.
Absolutely. That was a great one, Corey, because I honestly legitimately did not know Bay came through the Mets organization.
Yeah. It's forgotten by a lot of Mets fans. It's forgotten by a lot of Mets fans, but he was in the system very briefly, not long.
How many former Mets did they acquire in some way, shape, or form coming through the Pirates organization?
That's true. A lot of Mets.
Xavier Nady,
Yankees.
Yeah, something about New York and Pittsburgh. There's some sort of connection there.
Love that.
There's New York and Pittsburgh there. He got traded for Oliver Perez, who was traded with Jason Bay to the Pirates after the Mets dumped Bay. Oh my God, you could go on forever. It's like Kevin Bacon on a baseball field.
Love it. Trick of the trade does the job once again. Good stuff. Tom and Joe, of course, on that. But guys, we will see here.
Mostly Tom.
But in a couple of weeks' time, we will see here. Joe is stripping the Yankee jersey off, and hopefully,
looks like he's gonna hurt himself. My goodness.
Yes, baby, let's go.
I will have to throw that jersey in the wash immediately when I receive it. Joe, let's start with you. Any thank yous and goodbyes?
I'm thankful to have this jersey off. It's
all right, enough of you. Corey, what do you got?
I am thankful for the St. Louis Cardinals taking 2 of 3 against the Braves this weekend.
Love to hear that. Thomas?
Thankful for the city of Baltimore to make a boyhood dream come true. Spoken into existence, like Joe's trying to get Chapman to close games. But unlike Joe, I made it happen. I was a believer. I'm driving the bandwagon. Going to be really torn when the Yankees play the Orioles in the second round once they get into the wild card and get past someone. So, thank you, Baltimore.
Thank you, Baltimore. And you know what? Like I said, we mentioned the YouTube spot earlier. You got to go to YouTube and check out episode 10 and how confident that Joe just speaks and talks down on the Baltimore Orioles, saying they're a crap organization, that they're not going to win more than 60 games. And Tom is just hitting every point on the mark. It is hilarious. And on this day, August the 29th of 2022, Joe wears the Yankee jersey. No more, but he did wear the jersey. And my fans here tell me to burn the jersey. So thank you for that, Joe. We will see you guys here in 2 weeks' time as we are off for Labor Day for the new start time of 7:00 p.m. Eastern time right here on Twitch. Take care and happy Labor Day.